Hi everyone, Josh Valentine here, coming at you with a review of the Vertepac XTR.35 Plus. This is a unique new backpack coming out of the Netherlands, and I've had the privilege of beating on it for the last several months. It is absolutely one of the most comfortable packs I've ever worn. You can visit Vertepac's website at www.vertepac.com if you want to get a little bit more in-depth into the engineering specs. What I'm here to tell you is the quick rundown on what the pack does, what I liked about it, what I'd like to see improved, and whether or not it's a good buy for you. So we'll start with the basics. The XTR.35 Plus is one of the two models currently offered on Vertepac's website. It's a 35-liter bag, and it's the one that I've gotten to test. As far as the bag itself, it's fairly traditional. It's got an open top pouch with a mesh zipper on the bottom and a regular zipper on the back, some assorted mesh pockets, a rear flap pocket, some D-rings, tool loops, and assorted fastening straps. Where the pack is truly unique is the frame and carrying system. Vertepac boasts an independent frame with its own independent ExoSpine. What that means is the spine can be customized specifically to your body type. And once it's set, it's extended downward so that the frame sits around your hips and centers the load on your lumbar spine, giving you an almost weightless sense of the pack and an extremely free range of hip and upper body mobility that moves independently of one another. The hip strap itself offers two options, a more traditional buckle and cinch and a Velcro style strap. The buckle and cinch certainly works better when you're carrying heavier loads. The Velcro style is great for things on the lighter side. One of the coolest aspects of the Vertepac is that the frame is interchangeable. So once you have that frame customized and set to your own size, you never have to adjust those settings again. As far as the overall weight of the pack itself, it is notably quite a bit heavier, particularly to those that have grown accustomed to using the more ultralight style packs. However, Vertepac boasts a sense of 90% less weight and 85% less pressure on the back as a result of their ExoSpine system. And while I'm certainly not the scientist to verify the exact nature of those numbers, I can say this: it is a remarkable difference once you shoulder the bag with a load in it. In addition, the mobility that the ExoSpine offers is honestly unlike any other pack I've tried thus far. Alongside some preliminary testing in a gym, I've now used the Vertepac in jungle, desert, alpine, mangrove swamp, and vertical ice, with loads ranging from 30 to almost 80 pounds. Vertepac isn't claiming that they're going to revolutionize the ultralight market. They're claiming to sell the most comfortable and ergonomic load handler on the market. And I will say this, in that arena, they come through. Here's what I like about it. Despite the added weight of the pack itself, the Vertepac really does make good on its claims. The pack almost feels like it isn't attached properly when you first strap it on. And though it does take some fiddling to get the customization exact, once you do, the mobility is incredibly impressive. The hips move completely freely from the shoulder system, and the spine will extend or retreat back onto its support depending on how far you need to reach, stretch, or extend yourself to get up or over an obstacle. Most importantly, the load is always centered back on the hip belt and the lumbar spine, and the hip belt itself doesn't rub, slip, move, or ride up, which is unique amongst backpacks, thanks to the Vertepac's unique design. I also really like the versatility of the design from the standpoint of being able to change out different packs. Right now, Vertepac is a fairly limited line on the market, but as the company continues to expand, look for a whole bunch of new models to come through. The beauty of which is you don't have to invest in a new pack every time you need something for a new activity. You just buy the bag itself, and it clips right to the frame that you already have set and ready to go. The inside of the Vertepac is also double-lined, which is a feature that I'm massively appreciative of. After having to take it across a sudden, unexpected swim through a mangrove swamp in Panama, I was shocked to find that the contents of the bag were nearly completely dry. Now, it's not 100% watertight. If you have it submerged for long enough, certainly you're going to get some water in there. But between the Panamanian Ocean and the temperate rainforest of the Catskills, I've had this thing hammered with water and been pleasantly surprised each time to see that very little actually gets in to affect your equipment. Last but not least, it's got a pretty sleek look. I mean, it just looks cool, and honestly, who can really complain about that? Here's what I'd like to see improved. Now, before I dive into improvements, I'd like to be clear that all of these suggestions are based primarily on cosmetic or more minor improvements that I think the pack could have done to it. Overall, the frame technology and the carrying system that is the Vertepac, I got nothing but love to show it. Right off the bat, buckle size and workability are pretty challenging. All the buckles are very small, difficult enough to work without gloves on, but using them in an alpine and vertical ice environment, it was next to impossible. The cinch straps were pretty similar. So right off the bat, I would say, we need to make the buckles a little bigger and a little bit easier to operate, particularly from the mindset of someone coming at them with gloves. The cinch straps as well along the hip belt, while they are pretty easy to use, they keep a pretty high profile. I've found quite often in the jungle that they were getting snagged and caught on things as I was making my way through thick brush. I'd also like to see some changes made to the rear and side pockets. The mesh is okay on either side. It's not the most durable, but my real complaint came from the fact that it was very, very tight. Once the pack was stuffed, I had a hard time squeezing even my water bottle in there, so the side pockets weren't that useful on a full pack. Just a little bit wider and maybe a little bit higher, and I think they'd come in a lot more handy. The rear flap is nice as well. It does have an adjustable zipper that allows it to widen, ideally to accommodate a helmet or some other kind of load. It's not that the rear flap storage didn't work, it did. My complaints were the fact that once the pack was full, I didn't have a ton of room, and the open sides made it easy for something like a climbing helmet to start to move around and eventually work its way out. Last but not least, I'd really love to see some kind of bottom or side access zipper. Given that the Vertepac frame allows you to offset the weight of some added features, which is something a lot of the ultralight packs can't do, I don't think that adding one more zipper that would allow me to get at gear at the bottom or side of the pack without having to unload everything on the side of the trail would really make that much of a difference. And for somebody that wears a lot of hats in the backcountry, it'd be great to get at different layers of equipment as needed. My only other real suggestions for improvement come from the standpoint of a climber. Well, I think this pack is primarily better suited towards the hiking, trekking, and your more basic glacier mountaineering crowd, as well as perhaps snowboarding and downhill skiing. I still think some improvements could be made to make it a little bit more appealing to the climbing community as well. For example, some bigger and more versatile tool loops for things like technical ice picks, a little bit more accommodating back pouch to accommodate things like crampons and helmet, and certainly some sort of better fastening system for hanging ropes over the top of the pack. Last but not least, as with all backpacks, the hip belt was a little bit challenging to work over a harness. I did like the fact that you could retract the spine while climbing and it would clip higher on the waist, leaving your tools and harness uninterfered with, although the owner of Vertepac, Stanley, when I described this to him, did make the point that in doing so, you no longer have the ergonomic advantage that the technology is supposed to grant you. All the same, I think some tool loops on the side of the hip belt would probably go a long way in assisting climbers as well. So who is the pack for? Like I said, I think the ideal arena, the number one, is anybody that's carrying weight over long distance, right? So the distance hikers, the through hikers, trekkers, certainly mountaineers as well, particularly glacier travel, long big slogs like Mount Rainier. This pack is great for heavy loads over long slogs, and you really do feel like you've been carrying significantly less weight at the end of a long day. I think snowboarders and skiers would probably find a lot of use for this too, not necessarily for carrying heavy loads, but rather lighter loads on their back that allow for real amazing hip mobility, right? All that cutting and carving and turning is going to be a lot easier with this hip belt than it would with just about any other pack I've ever tried. So what's the final call on the Vertepac? Buy or fly? Well, I will say this, if any of those sports I just mentioned are yours, you're not going to be disappointed for buying. The one backpack that fits every single occasion is certainly still a bit of a myth in my mind, and it probably always will be in the outdoor and adventure industry. But I will say this, Vertepac comes pretty close. I think the two hang-ups a lot of consumers will probably have are A, the fact that the pack does come in at a higher weight. But as I said throughout the review, in this case, the technology really does render that a non-issue. The second, I think, will be the price point. The XTR.35 Plus retails for about $350 USD. Other competitors like Hyperlike Mountain Gear, Osprey, and Gregory are coming in with a much bigger pack, ranging from 70 to 85 liters around that same price point. Now, I still don't think this is necessarily a massive strike for Vertepac, especially considering as the company continues to expand, more and more packs, particularly larger ones, are bound to hit the market. The other thing to consider is, Once you buy this frame, you've bought the frame for life. Once the larger pack comes out, you don't have to go through the process of buying a whole new pack, breaking it in, and customizing it to your own size. You simply buy the bag and clip it onto the back of your frame. So I really do think that in long term, it is an investment worth making. Vertepac also offers a lifetime warranty on all production-related issues. I've had the chance to speak a lot now with Stanley, and I can say this. They're a great company that really is into the product for the right reasons. So they'd be somebody to look after you when you buy from them. Ultimately, I'll leave this call to you. Use the discount code JVX7A if you do decide you want to give Vertepac a run and make it a part of your outdoor arsenal. I certainly hope this review has helped. Till the next time, stay wild.